Hey YouTube, Jim here. Welcome to Top 10 Archive. Where do you fall on the debate that people are inherently good or bad? Do you think human nature tends one way or the other? I often can't make up my mind, but preparing this list for you today had me thinking that maybe humanity isn't that good at all. Today's list is about the top 10 most evil men in history, who they are, what they did, and, well, just the very worst of humanity. Number 10. Genghis Khan. Genghis is much different than anyone else on this list in that he wasn't exactly evil in the same way. Alright, hear us out. Sure, because of his Mongol conquests, which lasted 199 years, an estimated 40 to 80 million men, women, and children were killed for no reason other than he wanted to take over the world, which by death count could by far put him in the number 1 spot on this list. But here's how he's different. He hated everyone equally. But seriously, all jokes aside, he did more than just father 16 million descendants alive today and kill 11% of the world population at the time. He was very tolerant of every religion, created one of the first international postal systems, is credited with bringing the Silk Road under one cohesive political environment, and would normally always give his enemies a chance to surrender and join his army. He was also a huge advocate of meritocracy, a political system in which people are rewarded by their skills and talents rather than social class or wealth, where no family is allowed to build inheritance and all political parties are abolished. Number 9. Ivan the Terrible. You can't end up with an epithet like Ivan the Terrible and actually be Ivan the Nicer when you get to know him. Ivan was Russia's first Tsar and was a horrible human from childhood when it's said he'd throw animals from the top of buildings. Nobody really knows what made him so evil because he was truly a smart child. It's said that he often had rage tantrums, and many think he suffered from a mental illness. During one of his fits of rage, he killed his eldest son and heir to the throne, Ivan Ivanovich. Why? Because young Ivan attempted to stop his father from killing his unborn child, which he was unable to do. Some of his favorite evil activities included beheading, burning, strangling, frying, blinding, and disemboweling people. He was very paranoid, thinking the worst of those close to him, and maybe he was right too. He ended up dying from a stroke while playing chess with Russian statesman Bogdan Belsky. After he killed thousands of people, his own son, and his unborn grandchild, I'm not sure many were sad to see him go. Number 8. Idi Amin. Perhaps someone you have never heard of, Idi Amin served as the president of Uganda from 1971 to 1979. He took control of the country when President Obote left to visit Singapore for a meeting. Does this not sound like a well-written fiction? As all coups go, he promised, with his leadership, to bring prosperity to the country and just declared himself the new president. His colloquial title, however, was more akin to what he actually achieved. They called him the Butcher of Uganda, and for fun, he would kill people by feeding them to crocodiles. He killed one of his wives by, quote, rearranging her limbs, whatever that means, and throughout his regime he was responsible for the deaths of 100,000 to 500,000 people. Idi Amin somehow also made it long enough to die of natural causes by hiding out in Saudi Arabia. By the end of his life, he truly thought Uganda had needed the prosperity he brought and never expressed remorse for what he did. Number 7. Ismail Enver Pasha. A name that even history buffs probably won't recognize, but nevertheless we should never forget who he was and what he did. Pasha was a military officer and minister of war of the Ottoman Empire and a leader of the 1908 Young Turk Revolution. He was the leader in both the Balkan Wars, 1912 to 1913, and in World War I, 1914 to 1918. He commanded both the Second Battle of Adrianople and the Battle of Sarkoy, which led to roughly 40,000 deaths. Along with Talat Pasha, He was one of the main perpetrators of the Armenian Genocide, which led to the deaths of roughly 1.5 million, of Assyrian Genocide, which killed roughly 300,000 people, and of the Greek Genocide, which took an estimated 350,000 innocent Greek lives. Throughout his life, Pasha is said to be responsible for the deaths of over 2 million people. At the age of 40, Pasha got involved in the Basmachi movement to assist the Soviet war effort, where he subsequently died from a bullet wound to the heart by enemy fire. Number 6. Kim Jong-sung. Kim Jong-sung was the dictator of North Korea responsible for the Korean War, which resulted in the deaths of around 5 million people, 40,000 of which were U.S. soldiers, which were aiding South Korea. He was the first of many North Korean dictators to brainwash his people to idolize him. His son, Kim Jong-il, followed in his footsteps, and now Kim Jong-un is the latest in the saga of the North Korean horror novel series. In their time ruling North Korea, the Kim dictators have been responsible for millions of deaths, mass starvation, brainwashing, and torture in the likes of which makes them the most horrible people to have ever lived. Number 5. Pol Pot. Ivan the Terrible may be a well-known evil man, but have you ever heard of Pol Pot? He was a Cambodian revolutionary who served as leader of the Khmer Rouge from 1963 to 1997. The Khmer Rouge was a revolutionary group from the country's Communist Party of Kampuchea. While he was leading the party, he organized a mass genocide of his own countrymen. He reigned as prime minister for 3 years in the late 1970s, which resulted in around 2 million deaths. He liked death so much, he'd keep the skulls of people he'd killed as trophies. Shockingly, he wasn't murdered in vengeance for any of his horrible acts, but rather dying of natural causes. Number 4. Adolf Hitler. I know what you're thinking. Number 4 on this list? Whenever we think or talk about the most evil human in history, Adolf Hitler is usually the first person we think of. But we hate to say it, when talking about death count, Hitler's numbers kind of pale in comparison. Don't get us wrong, he was a psychopath, sociopath, narcissistic, racist, and had one of the worst mustaches in history. He essentially started World War II by invading Poland in 1939 and was the main figure behind the horrors of the Holocaust, which killed over 6 million Jews, homosexual people, and other marginalized communities. What most people forget is he also killed an estimated 2 to 3 million Polish Jews, which brings Hitler's total death count to between 7 and 9 million people. Unlike most people on this list, his demise was escalated by those who opposed him, having allegedly committed suicide in 1945 by taking a cyanide pill and then shooting himself in the head. Just 7 days after his death, Germany surrendered from World War II. Number 3. Leopold II of Belgium. Ruling from 1865 to 1909, Leopold II, King of Belgium, is mainly remembered for his horrible leadership, but his existence is shrouded in conspiracies, with many people still thinking he wasn't really that bad of a guy. There are many statues and busts of him throughout Europe today, although many have been vandalized and are scheduled to be taken down. He's responsible for the exploitation of the Congo Free State, a project he created which used forced labor to extract rubber and ivory in the Congo and caused the deaths of an estimated 10 million locals, which was an estimated 50% of the local population at the time. He saw a huge demand for rubber with the production explosion of bicycle and vehicle tires, and realized most of that rubber came from the Congo. Truly a for-profit human, he saw other ethnicities as scum and cared little about their clear demise and inhumane treatment. Luckily, his countrymen weren't proud of his rule, and he was buried to the sounds of his people booing him. One of the more gruesome photos tied to Leopold II is this 1904 depiction of a father staring at the hand and foot of his 5-year-old daughter, severed as a punishment for harvesting too little rubber, which was the main tactic used in forcing slaves to meet their quotas. Number 2. Joseph Stalin. Stalin was Georgian and led the Soviet Union between the 1920s and 1953, and was a huge advocate of purging mass amounts of people at once. The true number is unknown and highly debated, but an estimated 20 million people lost their lives because of him, either directly or indirectly, or by a chain of events. Being a leader of violence, for 30 years he partook in the horrible practice of ethnic cleansing, executions, and famines, which killed millions of his own people. The Great Purge is a highlight of Stalin's, where he ordered the killings of over 1 million people, most of which were upper-middle-class people, because he figured the poorer the people, the less power they ultimately have. Unlike other dictators who mainly killed their enemies, Stalin was so evil that he'd even kill his most loyal supporters, which is why many historians pin him as the most politically powerful man in history. Number 1. Mao Zedong. From 1943 to 1979, Mao was a dictator in China for those 36 years. He dreamed of making China a huge success worldwide and stopped at nothing to attempt it. His actions led China to modernizing and perhaps becoming the economic powerhouse that it is now, but along the way he killed an untraceable amount of people through forced labor, executions, and starvation. Mao's legacy is akin to a typical presidential election, where half of the people think he's the greatest man to ever live, and the other half thought he was the worst. Historians tend to agree he was responsible for driving imperialism out of China, nearly doubling the population, improving women's rights, the education and health systems, as well as drastically increasing the life expectancy from 35 to 63 years old. Despite this, which very well could be propaganda or the misuse of data, historians also agree he was perhaps the most ruthless leader in recorded history, having been responsible for the deaths of some 40 to 80 million people. Hey, if you like this video, why not become an archivist today by clicking the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. If you enjoyed this video, help us out by giving it a thumbs up, and in the comments section, let us know who you think the most evil man in history is.